So Devanny, welcome to FrightFest. The Black Mass has just had its international premiere. How was the reaction?
Honestly, they looked a little traumatized, which is perfect. And I had a Q&A because this film is a discussion piece, so I really wanted to make sure that the impact landed with them. My film advocates in a very creative way for victim advocacy, so I wanted to see if that resonated with the audience, and I was really, really relieved and thrilled to find that the person at the center of my film, the serial killer, was moderately idolized in our societies, and after the response from this movie, everyone looked disgusted by him. And so I feel very empowered. I feel very satisfied as a storyteller, and really, really excited for these victims who haven't had a voice in their own story for a very long time.
I think that is a big thing. Like, for some reason, serial killers are almost romanticized by people, and this film does spin that on its head. It's almost like, oh, you really like this person? Well, why don't you spend 24 hours with him and then see how you feel? Why was it so important that you told that side of the story?
Great question. So for me, this has been heavily publicized. It has been covered to death in the media. Everyone in the world really knows this person's name, and yet most people cannot name a single victim. And that did not sit right with me. I talked about in my Q&A how I go to a lot of conventions, horror conventions, and people are getting tattoos of him. They're wearing T-shirts of him. He's a celebrity. And I realized that many generations don't know what he really did, who he really was. And those who do don't have the information about how truly heinous this person was and what he did to people. And so I was curious. It was almost a character study on the audience. If we give you every grisly detail of what it was really like, if you have to look in the eyes of these women as you are doing these things to them, is he still that cool? And I'm relieved to share that no, he's not. So it was very empowering to take his story and make it theirs, where it should have been the whole time.
And in addition to obviously being a noted serial killer, this person was also quite prolific as somebody who sexually assaulted some of his victims, and I feel that that is a theme that is often in horror, but it's always, or not always, but it seems to be predominantly through history told through a man's perspective. It's always a male director. Obviously you've got like Wes Craven and Last House on the Left and people, but I feel that there's so much more power that comes from a woman telling these stories, because at the end of the day, in this scenario, it's the woman that goes through it. Again, how important was it for you to portray this from the female lens?
I think it's incredibly empowering as a woman to be telling this particular story, because the individual at the center hated women, was resentful of them, saw them as objects and a vessel for his particular needs. And so to take his legacy away from him and give it to his victims is particularly empowering, because I'm a woman. And I think the material needed to be treated in such a way that, yes, it's been depicted throughout. I mean, these are not new concepts, right? We see them throughout time. But I think when you put it in the context of a popcorn entertainment movie, it's still disturbing, because, that they're horrible acts. And yet, there's another level you can reach when you know somebody really went through this. When you know it's a real victim and it really happened, it can pack an additional punch. When you tell that from a place where it really could have been you, there's an extra level of vulnerability, there's an extra level of intimacy and horror that goes into it. And I think the reason it's so important for women to have a voice in cinema is because that extra little bit, you can't create it. You have to be that voice, and it has a different impact than somebody who is trying to create that voice and trying to have that empathy. Women know. And what's really, really cool about this particular project, the men know too. This movie, ironically, has a big support from men who are thinking about this and this kind of material in a very different way. and that's one of the most rewarding things that I could hope for out of this film.
And final question, I know it's already screened at Popcorn Frights, obviously we're here at FrightFest. What's the journey for the Black Master going forward?
So I'm brand new to the first festival circuit, so this is exciting for me, and I have several more here in Europe that we've been accepted to, but I'm not allowed to announce them yet, so that makes a really weird interview. But I do have some coming that I would love to share with you soon, and we are also playing in Syracuse, New York in a few weeks, and Catalina Island in California, and then hopefully sharing with you. We have more, what got announced? I have more in UK, but I can't say them yet. And then I also have some in Ireland, in Belgium, and Germany.
It's going absolutely everywhere.
I am trying, so I normally don't play the festival circuit, which I've been missing out clearly, but I'm really, really grateful that my distributor is supporting a festival run on this, because I think they understand how important it is to have these conversations face to face to really get the true impact of the movie. And so I'll be touring with it as often as they'll let me do it, so I can bring up these conversations.
I wish you best of luck with the tour. Thank you. Thank you. You too.